Breaking today, Meghan Markle breaks her agreement with King Charles and Buckingham Palace to leak to her friends at People magazine less than a week after that promised meeting.
Everybody in the family now understands that Meghan is an adversary and needs to be treated as such.
Anybody who leaves their so-called loving partner to face the world's media alone when you've lost a mega court case is certainly not somebody standing by you. And you will also notice what was interesting, that even though they knew about the Emmy nomination.
On Harry's mind is Harry and Meghan, and on Meghan's mind is Meghan, but sometimes Harry.
Most definitely. Well, it's my view that she's pathologically transactional, and she's American. As you know, Americans don't like losers.
This confused and angry, spoiled brat can never admit he was wrong, can never admit that he's, done a terrible thing in bringing this entire losing case and wasting perhaps £50 million in legal costs.
She had one simple rule: keep the secrets completely quiet. She broke it in just 48 short hours. Now her entire world is completely gone.
Reporting directly contravenes what Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had agreed with the palace, which was that there was to be no briefing around this visit to try and shape the narrative in favour of one party. But she can't help herself, can she? So this is the cover report where People says the Duchess planned to be by her husband's side for several outings.
Her platform is totally destroyed. Even her own husband won't defend her anymore. And 1.5 million people have just proved that William was absolutely right. William tried to tell everyone, not in some dramatic confrontation, not with screaming or ultimatums. He simply knew. From the beginning, he understood something that no one else wanted to see. He watched her strategy unfold. He saw the pattern forming. And when King Charles was considering a meeting with her, William's message was clear. Don't do this alone. He wasn't wrong.
William was very much across the meeting. He knew exactly why the king wanted to do it. He wasn't having any of it, not interested, but understood. And it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about the monarchy, how you have to be careful because the king is the king is the king. You get the picture.
But being right when everyone else is hoping for the best means nobody listens. People want to believe in redemption. They want to believe that kindness works. So when William warned that this person couldn't be trusted, when he tried to protect his brother, nobody heard him until now.
Of course he's going to say yes. He's a kind man, really, the king. He's not going to not want to see his grandchildren.
Okay, is he a weak man, though, Jobbo, too?
Yeah, but, it's difficult, isn't it? You're living with cancer. You've got a certain amount of finite time in your life. I mean, he's seeing all sorts of people behind the scenes. Michael Fawcett, who was got rid of as well. A lot of people being seen in this period because, of course, a man without living with that he doesn't know how long he's got, and so he's not going to turn that down. And that may be seen as weakness, but it certainly wouldn't have happened on the Queen's watch, the late Queen's watch, and I don't think it would happen if it was Prince William.
Because what happened next proved William understood something the rest didn't. He knew what she was capable of. He'd watched her operate. He understood how she thinks, how she strategizes, how she weaponizes everything around her, and he knew that if given access, she would use it exactly like she did. King Charles wanted to be the bigger person extended forgiveness. He said yes to the meeting. He decided to give her a chance. He believed in grace, and William watched his father make that choice knowing exactly what would happen.
The children were primary. Harry was very low down secondary, and Meghan was not even tertiary. She was way in the back line. But to receive Meghan and do it the way they did was to drive home a point to an adversary.
Within 48 hours, his prediction came true. That's what wisdom looks like at this stage of life. You've seen enough patterns to know how they end. You've watched people play these games before. You understand psychology. William isn't angry right now because he's vindictive. He's validated because he was right. And more importantly, he was trying to protect the people he loves from exactly what just occurred. Now, 1.5 million boycott isn't just anger. It's outrage. Because it's one thing to leak stories for PR advantage. This is what happens when you ignore wisdom. This is what happens when you hope for the best with someone who's already shown you who they are. The world is watching it unfold exactly as one man predicted it would.
As a victim, and they were always going to leak it. It was a matter of time. Even I thought it was quite quick how they've leaked.
They can't help themselves.
Detail. There'll be more detail that comes out about this, and it will all be positive about the Sussexes. I mean, the reality is that's what they're going to do. They're going to leak, and it's inevitable. I mean, it is inevitable.
King Charles is not a cruel man. After everything, after years of public attacks, after the Netflix series where his son aired family grievances to the world, after the book that detailed private conversations, the king still said yes. He decided family matters. He believed there was a path forward. He extended grace not because he was foolish, but because he's a father.
The king was always going to receive Harry and Meghan to see those children. It was absolutely fundamental to his interests, and whether Harry knows it or not, to Harry's interests and to the grandchildren's interests.
Fathers at his age still hope their children will choose better. They still believe in reconciliation. So when he agreed to this meeting, when he opened this door, he was taking an emotional risk. He was saying, I'm going to try. I'm going to show my grandchildren. I'm going to open this door. That door got weaponized immediately. This is why the one.
They've weaponized Archie and Lily to get that reunion with King Charles and Queen Camilla in Highgrove House. This is a couple that know leverage when they see it, and they're happy to use it. And as you say, Invictus, a worthy cause. We love the veterans. It's an amazing sporting event, but it's a public relations vehicle for the Sussexes.
5 million boycott isn't just anger. It's outrage, because it's one thing to leak stories for a PR advantage. It's another thing entirely to take someone's act of forgiveness, someone's vulnerability, someone's willingness to say, let's try again, and use it as ammunition. Within 48 hours of promising absolute confidentiality, she called People magazine not accidentally, not impulsively, deliberately, strategically.
But why this matters, of course, is that we know that Prince Harry has in the past directly emailed People magazine. We know that People magazine effectively operates as like the house journal for the Sussexes.
She had this plan before she ever walked into that meeting. The king extended his hand, and she used that moment to fuel her own narrative. Music. This is why the timing proves everything. It's not just that she leaked, it's that she demonstrated calculated cruelty that reveals character. This wasn't impulsive. This was premeditated.
And she certainly also showed people, and they have said it in their millions, that she is not only sadistic, but that she is also definitely antisocial. She doesn't have a heart. She is ruthless. She is unfeeling. She is calculating. And she was totally unscrupulous in the way she went about things.
I'm going to take your kindness. I'm going to use your willingness to reconcile. I'm going to take the intimacy of that private moment, and I'm going to weaponize it. King Charles believed in grace. She responded by proving grace was a mistake. And that's what broke the last person trying to protect her. That's what made William's warning not just accurate, but merciful. He was trying to save his father from this exact moment.
Nobody dare trust him. As I told you, very detailed in that meeting with the king. Despite what everybody else is saying, it was quite detailed about who Harry met and how long, the 47 minutes, all of that. William, though, knows that Harry is trying to garner some sort of get back in plot, so not necessarily wanting, how can I put this without giving too much away, but not necessarily wanting the royal duty, but a reason to get back in.
He was trying to prevent this exact betrayal. The king learned what William already knew. Some people don't want redemption. They want access. And they'll take your kindness and turn it into a weapon the moment it serves them. Let's be precise about what happened, because the timeline is everything. Day 1, afternoon, private meeting at Highgrove. Conversations about grandchildren. Moments intended to be confidential. Family business conducted in privacy. Real attempts at healing taking place. Day 1. Evening. The agreement. Explicit understanding, no briefings to press. This is private, no leaks. Just family attempting to find common ground.
All the conversation stuck to the children, because it's so easy when families have had a rift, if children get involved, they can sit and talk about the children until the cows come home, but you don't get into discussing things that have caused that rift. And I'm sure that never happened. So we're talking about, in the space of 4 or 5 years, 2 visits and 1 with the children. Camilla was really fiercely attacked by Harry in Spare.
Made. That's when you need to understand something about the 48-hour window. She didn't wait until she was emotional. She didn't wake up and impulsively call a magazine editor. The call to People magazine happened during or immediately after the meeting. This wasn't her responding to circumstances. This was her executing a plan. Think about what that means. She walked into that meeting knowing she would leak its contents.
I know that Meghan thought that she was going to outmaneuver everybody with her typical emotional blackmail, and not always emotional either, and her game playing, and that she was somehow going to end up getting the meeting she wanted.
She sat across from the king, a man extending grace, trying to be the bigger person, and she was already strategizing how to spin this. She was already planning which details to emphasize, which conversations to characterize in ways that made her look sympathetic. Day 2, details start appearing, not wild rumors, specific details about what was discussed, information that could only come from someone in the room. Details configured to paint a specific narrative, one that positioned her as sympathetic, as someone trying, as someone victimized by circumstances. Day 3, the boycott begins. But here's what matters about this timeline for understanding character. This wasn't spontaneous. This was intentional.
They had adequate security otherwise, but they threw their toys out of their pram and got upset. Now I can't go because of this. But she also, frankly, my firm belief is Harry had a horrific week, and she didn't want to be seen with someone who's on a downswing, even if it's her husband. She didn't want to be tarred with that kind of loser brush. It's horrible, but that is a very Hollywood way of thinking.
This was someone making a calculated choice to betray confidentiality, to use a private moment of reconciliation to weaponize a family's attempt at healing. By day 3, 1.5 million people understood what William had been saying from the beginning. The timeline proves it. She didn't get swept up in palace politics. She made a choice, and that choice revealed that the access she wanted, the moment she sought, the reconciliation she pursued wasn't about genuine healing. It was about opportunities to weaponize. This is why the speed matters. This is why William's warning was merciful.
And this is another situation where I believe that William can see this. Anybody who leaves their so-called loving partner to face the world's media alone when you've lost a mega court case is certainly not somebody standing by you.
Because he understood that with some people, kindness isn't an invitation to better behavior. It's an opportunity to betray more effectively.
They clearly don't think about anyone else. They don't care about anyone else. They're only on their minds. On Harry's mind is Harry and Meghan, and on Meghan's mind is Meghan, and sometimes Harry.
Most definitely. Well, it's my view that she's pathologically transactional, and she's American. As you know, Americans don't like losers.
He tried to save his father from learning that lesson the hard way. But some lessons can only be learned through painful experience. When 1.5 million people organized a boycott in 48 hours, it wasn't random. It was recognition. It was 1.5 million people from different countries, different backgrounds, all simultaneously arriving at the same conclusion. William was right. This person cannot be trusted. That's not boycott energy. That's moral consensus. People don't organize boycotts because they're bored.
It should be. It's basically a public barometer of how people feel about him and how they feel about Invictus. And a lot of people are really just concerned that he and his wife Meghan are hijacking a cause for their own self-burnishment. And, you know, you look at it and you can't say anything about veterans, right? You don't want to say anything about veterans. We want them all to do well.
They do it because something fundamental has been violated. Someone kept promising one thing while doing another. Someone weaponized trust repeatedly, and finally everyone saw it at once. The magazine itself became the symbol because People magazine had been her primary vehicle. It was where she controlled narratives. It was a publication that repeatedly framed her as sympathetic, as trying, as victimized. And now, by using that same magazine to leak confidential conversations, she'd exposed the entire mechanism. She'd shown how it worked.
Who put the trip in the papers, his people who confirmed the children, his people who then days later put out a second announcement saying he was now reconsidering whether to bring Meghan and the children at all because of a security row that per the first announcement they had already accepted and were quite comfortable working around. So, Jobbo, given that context from Tom Sykes, which I think was brilliantly explained actually, how on earth can Meghan Markle then leak to People magazine, contravening the agreement that they had made with Buckingham Palace, that she is somehow the victim in all of this?
She revealed that the magazine's exclusive access was actually just access to someone who would weaponize private moments. So they stopped buying it. They stopped clicking. They organized publicly. Within 72 hours, the organization that had served as her primary PR vehicle became the symbol of her betrayal. Think about what that means for someone who built everything on media control. Her entire strategy, her entire operation depends on having platforms. It depends on magazines willing to publish her version of events. It depends on editors who will accept her narratives. And suddenly that was gone. Not because the palace demanded it, not because William orchestrated it, but because 1.5 million people simultaneously said no. The boycott didn't just cost her a magazine. It cost her the illusion of control.
They've simply got her measure. And now that the tide has turned against her in more ways than one, and now that she is no longer on the mountaintop, invincible, but the waters are lapping on the soles of her feet, and she begins to realize that she is actually very much in danger.
For years, she'd made people believe that with the right PR, with the right narrative, with enough well-placed stories, you could rewrite reality. You could make people believe you were the victim. You could transform betrayal into misunderstanding. The boycott proved otherwise. Because 1.5 million people looked at the evidence, the timeline, the pattern, and they understood. They didn't need a magazine to explain it. They saw it clearly. Character doesn't change when circumstances are favorable. It reveals itself when given access.
It's not real. And, I think that while we love a comeback, we like an authentic comeback of somebody who we want to root for. And unfortunately, there's nothing really about Harry and Meghan to root for.
Well, there isn't, and you're so right. The Americans don't like grifters, which is what they are.
The consequences follow like dominoes falling. Netflix, which had been banking on multiple projects, suddenly questioned the asset it was funding. Sponsors that had committed to Invictus began reevaluating. Production companies developing content around her had cold feet because 1.5 million people had just proven something the industry already suspected. Her brand was toxic, not because the palace orchestrated it.
I agree that the meeting with the king will do nothing for either of them. As a brand and as a couple, they are toast. As a brand, they are as desirable as leprosy would have been at the time of our good Lord Jesus Christ.
Not because William ran a PR campaign, but because her own actions revealed through that 48-hour timeline had shown that she couldn't be trusted with anything. Not privacy, not confidentiality, not family moments. The $60 million mystery surrounding Invictus suddenly looked different. People started asking questions they'd been afraid to ask before. Where exactly was this money going? Why did similar events cost a fraction of this? Why were veterans still struggling while budgets kept expanding?
It's also because of the financial questions coming up. People do have to look at their board and say, okay, we gave this money to Invictus, and for some reason it cost $60 million, whereas a similar event in the States costs $2 to $3 million, not pounds. So, I think people are just paying attention.
It's difficult for us legally, isn't it, to speculate on where the money has gone.
The same questions William and Catherine have been quietly investigating suddenly became public conversation because trust had been broken. When you betray someone's confidence, when you demonstrate that you'll weaponize private moments, people stop assuming good intentions. They stop accepting explanations. They start looking at financial records. They start wondering what else was being hidden.
This confused and angry, spoilt brat can never admit he was wrong, can never admit that he's, done a terrible thing in bringing this entire losing case and wasting perhaps £50 million in legal costs, as the bill is thought to be at the end of the day, all of which could have gone to one of his charities that he's always going on about. They could have used the money more usefully, I'm sure.
The Netflix deal that looked certain 6 months ago suddenly seemed like a liability. Magazine partnerships being negotiated suddenly looked risky.
I think, Jobbo, the financial situation is so underestimated at the moment. People don't realise what trouble they're in. And it's
Big
not
trouble.
about the fact...
That court case, and look at the court case, Dan. I mean, the Mayor are going to go back to court to get some of that 30 million, maybe more, back. I mean, who's going to pay that? Elton John has just basically allegedly said, I'm not getting involved in paying for Harry's bills. So this is Harry really in a big problem financially, I think.
100%. And you've got the $3 million a year in security costs as well.
Publishers considering book deals started pulling back, not because they were threatened, but because the 1.5 million person boycott had proven something to the business world. Investing in this asset was dangerous. One leaked 48-hour cycle had fundamentally altered how the industry viewed her. This is what happens when trust is destroyed. It's not just about one person being upset. It's about a fundamental shift in how people perceive you as a business partner, as a trustworthy entity. Once that perception shifts, it affects everything downstream. Sponsorships, deals, opportunities, access. The financial collapse wasn't punishment.
Well, they don't even have a flagship donor. Boeing bowed out. They don't have a big company saying, here's our name on this event. We've paid X millions for it. Of course, it's all a tax write-off, so they need to give those millions away. Anyway, the problem is the Sussex brand has become so intertwined with Invictus, and it's just been tarnished.
It was the market responding rationally to revealed character. William had warned this would happen. He'd explained that this person couldn't be trusted with access, with music, platforms, with partnerships. And now the business world was independently arriving at the same conclusion. The numbers don't lie. Neither do the 1.5 million people who voted with their wallets. Then there was Harry's solo appearance. He showed up without her. When a married man stops bringing his wife to events, when he stops defending her publicly, when he stops creating the united front that had been their brand, that's a statement.
What is quite notable, though, is that Meghan Markle didn't attend the Time 100 event with Harry. Certainly, when the chips are down, she don't want to be seen with her Duke. Ms. Pepper is no longer interested in the salt shaker, if you understand what I mean.
People understand what that means. You can stage a lot in a marriage. You can pretend longer than you should. But there's a moment when the energy shifts. When one person looks at the evidence of who their partner really is and has to make a choice, Harry made his choice by showing up alone. The 48-hour timeline had revealed her to the world, but it also revealed her to Harry because he was in that room. He had those private conversations with the king. He believed they would remain confidential. And then he watched those private moments get weaponized within 48 hours. That breaks something inside a person. Not because he's weak, but because he finally has undeniable proof that this person will use him, use her children, use any access to serve her narrative.
She didn't want to be seen with someone who's on a downswing, even if it's her husband. She didn't want to be tarred with that kind of loser brush. It's horrible, but that is a very Hollywood way of thinking. And those two are actually seeing it happen to them right now.
He finally understands that William wasn't being cruel. William was being merciful. So Harry appeared alone, just quietly showing that he understood now, that he could see what everyone else was seeing, that he'd finally accepted what William had been trying to protect him from. While all of this was happening, Catherine simply remained dignified. This is the contrast that matters most.
During the working period of what she's doing, whether she's organising Zoom chats with her charities or daily things with the children or whatever, she's just very organised. I admire people like that, don't you? I love these people that put a list together and can stick to it,
While Meghan desperately leaked to magazines trying to control narratives, weaponizing private moments, Catherine was quietly doing her work. She was supporting William. She was maintaining her projects. She was raising her children. She was being strong in a way that didn't require a magazine story to validate it. Catherine represents everything that Meghan claimed to be, but clearly isn't. She's actually trying to make a difference through her charities. She's actually raising children with grace. She's actually supporting her husband without dominating every narrative. She's actually part of family instead of constantly positioning herself as a victim. This is why the contrast is so devastating, because it's not Catherine attacking Meghan. Catherine is simply existing as she actually is, capable, grounded, dignified, strong.
Well, I'm sorry, it was always going to be obvious that a pothead's daughter who, at her wedding to her previous husband, had given everybody sachets of pot illegally.
And next to someone constantly performing, constantly leaking, constantly weaponizing, the difference is stark. The 1.5 million weren't just saying no to betrayal. They were saying yes to people like Catherine. This isn't the first time. If you've been paying attention, and people at 50 plus have been, you've watched this pattern repeat for years. It's not new. It's not a one-time mistake. It's how she operates. Years of using media for narrative control. Years of positioning herself as a victim while attacking family. Years of taking private information and weaponizing it. Years of winning sympathy by making others look bad. This isn't character that just emerged. This is character that's been consistent the entire time.
100%. Everything is. It's just they can't help themselves. They want to drive this narrative that they are just so charitable and they are so kind and so giving. But at the same time, I don't think either of them understand what hard work is. And Harry doesn't understand that you can't just set up a charity. It requires 60 to 80 hours work per person who works for that charity in order to set it up correctly. However, in his mind, because this is how his entire life has gone, he shows up, he smiles, he takes photos, everyone says how great he is, he shakes some hands, and then he leaves. And that to him is considered a good day of work.
The only thing that changed is that now everyone sees it clearly at once. William saw it early. He recognized the pattern before it fully developed. He understood what this person was capable of based on how they operated in smaller moments. Music. He extrapolated forward and said, "This will end in betrayal. This will destroy my brother. This will wound my father." He was right.
Harry was hoping at some point that William might at least suggest a private phone call, a secret meeting. Remember, he was in London for a full week. He had time to go off to the premiere for Miss and Harriman, and he let it be known very clearly to the palace that ultimately he was around. He waited, he left his number, nothing. But William knows that Harry wants out. We can all see it, and William can see it. Many might suggest the only person that can't see it, clearly, is Harry.
But more importantly, he was describing a pattern, not an incident. This is why the boycott was so comprehensive, because 1.5 million people didn't just react to one leak. They reacted to years of watching this pattern. They reacted understanding that this isn't someone who made one mistake. This is someone who consistently operates this way. Every relationship damaged. Every access point weaponized. Every act of kindness met with betrayal. This is who she's always been.
I mean, such, as the Jamaicans would put it, a grabbinicious way of behaving. Such, and as Meghan would put it, so classless, such an unclassy way to behave. So tacky, so counterproductive, so arriviste, so vulgar, so just undignified, so everything deplorable.
The 48-hour timeline didn't reveal a new person. It revealed the same person everyone had been watching, just more clearly. It gave everyone undeniable proof of what William had been warning about. And that's when the boycott happened. Because when the pattern becomes undeniable, when you see it clearly in one compressed moment, that's when even people who wanted to believe in redemption finally accept reality. That's when 1.5 million people simultaneously say enough. We see it now. William was right. Here's what nobody talks about in these situations. The isolation that comes when everyone sees you clearly at the same time. King won't meet with her. Harry's distancing. Sponsors are leaving.
People magazine writing Prince William and Prince Harry still have no contact. Despite Harry's reunion with King Charles, there has been no movement on William's side. A source tells people in this week's exclusive cover story. An insider telling the magazine, it's so broken.
Magazines won't publish her stories. Platforms are disappearing. There's nobody left defending her. Nobody left willing to stake their reputation on her. Nobody left willing to believe the narrative. This is the real consequence, not external punishment, but the logical outcome of destroying every relationship, burning every bridge, and weaponizing every moment until there's literally nobody left.
His credibility is completely gone in any English court now. No insurance company would think of insuring any future case. And just people are laughing at him now. He couldn't possibly bring another case, even if there were one to bring.
No platform, no defender, no ally, just isolation. This is what the meltdown was really about. This is the power of wisdom, not in being proven right, but in watching people you love finally understand what you've always known. William didn't want this vindication. He wanted his father to avoid this pain. He wanted his brother to see it early. But sometimes the only way people learn is through their own experience. Now, 1.5 million voices are saying what William tried to tell them all along. Click the video on screen to watch what happens next in this.